Last summer, Ryan traveled to Uganda to visit his well and the community it had helped. The people there welcomed him with open arms.
It was amazing. It was great. Everybody was like a magic, you know.
This is your well. You read it.
Ryan's Well, funded by Ryan H. Little people can do big jobs. You don't need to be a grown-up before anybody listens to you.
Ryan! I am so proud of you for everything, but especially this leather tie you're wearing. I hear you were so moved by the gratitude that you got in Africa. How did that change you? What was that experience?
It just changed you inside, me inside. Like, I didn't know that they would be this grateful. It was just gave me a feeling that I did something right. And it's just one step to making the world a better place.
So I remember my folks had to sit me down again because they thought they were setting me up for failure. And I remember they said, if you really want to do this, you're going to have to expand your comfort zone and actually talk to other people and get other people involved, because we're not going to give you more money for these chores. And I remember, so I did chores for my neighbors, and then I remember I went back to my classroom and I started talking to my friends about it, saying, you know what, if we can just all pool our money together and we work hard, we can build this well. And my friends, they said no, and said, Ryan, that was months ago. When you're 6, you don't have that kind of attention span. You go back to regular life after you do your required routine fundraiser. They said, let's go play Pokemon cards. Forget about this. And actually, that was one of the things I had to make it more relatable to my peers. So I think the first fundraiser I ever did was a Pokemon card fundraiser raffle sale. Something that my friends were into. And we were able to fundraise a little bit of money. And I remember my teacher saw what we were doing, and I think she was impressed that one of her students actually had an attention span. And so she said, why don't you give a presentation to the class? And I didn't really want to, but I did. And then I gave a presentation to the other grade 1 class. And then I remember my first speech was at the Kempville Rotary Club when I was 7 years old. And I remember when I was a kid, actually, I went to speech therapy. So I couldn't pronounce, my SHs, my THs. So something like thunder, I'd say thunder, and I stuttered. I had a very bad speech impediment. I had to go to speech therapy once every week when I was younger. And here I was, I gave this speech to all these Rotarians, so all these 50, 60, 70-year-old people who volunteer in the community already. And I gave this speech, and I don't think much of the words actually got across, because it was so difficult to understand me. But the message did. Here was this kid, there wasn't anything remarkable or special about me, who wanted to build this well. And I think from that point on, it became less of my project and more of my community's project. People started pitching in who were my neighbors, friends of the family, who got involved and became something bigger than what it was in the first place, me just doing chores. And it got to the point where we were actually able to raise the $2,000. And it went towards the completion of a well at Ngolo Primary School in northern Uganda. And that was the first clean water source that that school ever had. It was really neat, actually. The school enrollment jumped from 700 to over 2,000 students just because the well was put in. So it was great, and I achieved my goal. And unfortunately, though, I was growing up a little bit and being more accustomed to the disappointments and realities of the world, and I was told that one well wasn't going to bring the world clean water anymore. So I kept on fundraising and doing different things. And then I remember when I was 9, actually, I was really lucky for Christmas one year. My neighbors who used to travel a lot for a living, they gave air mile points to me and my family. So we were actually able to go see the well that was put in. And I remember I would have been 9. And when I went to the school, there was this massive, huge celebration. There were over 5,000 people from the local community. There was a feast and a festival and dancing. And everyone was just so excited and so happy and so just pumped because they had clean water. Water isn't something that I have a smile that lights up on my face because I can have a drink of clean water in the morning or a shower. So to see that something that I considered so small, to have that much of an impact on someone's life where they're willing to celebrate, helped me put in perspective of what I needed to be happy. So it gave me motivation to keep on going. So I remember I came back to Canada and I started talking to people around my community and different people from around the country and then around the world. And people started buying into the idea that you didn't have to be someone remarkable to make a difference, that sometimes you could be a kid and make a difference too. So I remember it was on things like the Oprah Winfrey Show. There was a documentary done. It was the cover of the Reader's Digest magazine. And from that point on, we were actually able to establish something called the Ryan Hreljac Foundation. And we're 15 years old now, and we've been able to do over 1,020 water projects in 16 countries that's helped over 850,000 people. So I think the important thing to note is that all of those achievements and everything that's happened because of my grade 1 overdue failed school project. When I was in grade 1, I wasn't an expert hydrologist that understood the complexity of the water issues in this world. As you all know, the world's water issues aren't something that's easy. It's very complex. There's still almost 1 billion people that don't have clean water. And to tackle the problem takes a lot of problem solving and different solutions. And I didn't understand that when I was 6. I thought that one well would literally bring the world clean water. I didn't come from money, power, influence. I was probably, the least qualified person to do something about the world's water crisis. But because I did do something, because I raised my hand, because I did something that wasn't expected, I went beyond the token value of what you're supposed to do in your grade 1 charity project. It became something bigger than me. It became something that embodied that you don't have to be a superhero to make a big difference. I think when I was a kid, when I was 6 especially, and I look back at over the last 17 years I've been engaged in doing these projects and speaking and fundraising for these initiatives, the hardest thing I've ever had to do was raise my hand in my grade 1 class. I didn't participate. I didn't want to participate. I liked life like that. But because I went outside my comfort zone to do something that I normally didn't do, all this work ended up being done. And I think that's important in life to realize that sometimes you need to, raise your hand, take that first step forward, even if you don't know everything about the problem you're getting into. If I had thought like that, if I had that mentality when I was 6, none of this work would have ever been done. And I think it's important as you get older, like I'm 24 years old now, and I feel like I'm a cynical old man. I look at different problems and I find reasons not to get involved or not to do things, and you're risk adverse. And it's just the part of growing up. So I think one of the things that keeps the foundation going and why we're still able to do the work we do is because sometimes I have to think back to when I was 6 and I took those 10 steps to get to the water fountain. That someone else isn't that lucky and there's something that I can do to stop it. So sometimes it's that simple.